Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Clark, and today I wanted to talk about our behavior in the sense of that what's interesting about us is that our behavior really tells about who we are. Our behavior, if you really want to know what am I about? What are my kids about? What are my friends really about? What am I really about? Watch your behavior. And so I'll get you to think about this. Think about this, the senses that we have, the 5 senses that we have. What you even touch, throughout the day, what you smell, what you prefer to smell, what your eyes look at, which is interesting too. Where do my eyes go throughout the day? That has some useful information. So all of these things are data, behaviors that tell us about who we are. So what I wanted to talk about is, are you really being true to you? How do you know if you're being true to the person you think you are or that you want to be? One of the clear indications is behavior. One of the things that I say to married couples or committed romantic relationships is I care less about what people say and more about what they do. So a big line that I would say is that I trust behavior. So a person can tell me that they love their partner all day, but if they never spend time with them, if they never say nice things to them, if they never provide a gift, if they don't never remember an anniversary, if they never treat them with respect, those behaviors are telling far more than if they said every day, I love you, I love you, I love you, and yet they're not showing it. I think that was in a movie that I really liked, Batman Begins. I remember Batman in that show saying, we're more defined by what we do and then what we say. I'm probably misquoting it, but it's a great line. It's a powerful line that what we do describes who we are. We're defined by what we do. And so I want you to think about that. Again, what am I listening to? Where am I spending my time, my money? Where am I spending, where are my relationships at as far as my behaviors? Am I initiating, contacting, seeking them out? These behaviors really describe who you are and what you are. So if you think that you are a very loyal person and yet you do not talk to your friends or to your wife or to your kids, or if you think you're a great father and yet there's no quality time with your children, or we're constantly criticizing or shaming our children, what are these behaviors actually saying? So I wanted to think a little bit about what behaviors am I doing and what do they say about me? So I find it even interesting that, for example, if I am around a set of parents with my kids, I'm very aware of something called the Hawthorne effect. Now, I'm going to be very honest and congruent with you right now. The Hawthorne effect is an effect that people notice that when people are being watched, they tend to act better. Makes sense to most of us, right? Most of us, if we know about a group of people are watching us, may reduce the profanity that we use, or you may not belch or do these kind of socially inappropriate things you might think if you know somebody's watching you. I find it interesting even for me, if I'm around a group of parents and I have my kids there, I'm a little bit more on point with how I speak to my kids and how I treat them. I just noticed that. So even these little things, if you notice that your behaviors change around certain people, why do you wear certain clothes around some people? Your behavior tells you a lot. So I would say, watch these little things, your behaviors as data points. Even if you may say, I found this interesting one day that I was at a soccer game with a bunch of dads. And I was saying to a group of dads that when we're watching them and we're all kind of yelling out, hey, great job, great job. And if your kids never look at you or never acknowledge you're there, I said to you, what's that like for you? That's no big deal. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me at all. And I didn't believe that of these people. I said, so you're telling me if your kid did go, hey, thanks, Dad, or looked and gave a smile, that wouldn't have a little more positive effect than if they ignored you the whole time. So when I actually put it that way, if they did look at you, it would be more beneficial. If they didn't, so they changed their story a little bit. So noticing your responses, your behaviors, where you put your time, where you put your investments, they say things about you. So again, I'm going to ask you, if you think you're a very dedicated spouse, what behaviors are you showing that actually indicate that? And do I put the behaviors on more when somebody's watching than legitimately are the things that I would do? So we get into almost like these habit loops where we do behaviors that we'll do again and again, and notice what those behaviors might be for you. And what are they driven by? So some of the behaviors that we might do are things like constantly scrolling on the phone. So again, back to, I value quality time with my spouse, with my kids, and yet notice your behaviors. Yeah. How much are you on your phone while you're in contact, like direct contact with your kids? How much time do you actually hang out with your kids while you're playing soccer? Or do you spend about 5 minutes, and then you're cleaning the garage, or you're making a phone call, or you're back on your phone? So I think it's important for us to notice what our behaviors are saying. If that value is that I think I'm a great dad, does the data back that up? So I'm going to just ask you to think about what behaviors you're employing. What does it say about you? And another statement I wanted to say is that the role of attention. Where do you put your attention through the day? And now again, I would also almost ask you to think about, what does the majority of my time go to? Now, of course, for a lot of us, we spend 8 hours of our day at work. And most of us would say, no, I'd way rather not do work. I'm doing it. I work to live, not live to work. However, if you're spending another 5 hours after work working, the majority of that time is saying that clearly work's important to you. So I'm asking you to think about, if you think of 24 hours, where are you putting these hours? Because they clearly show where your priorities are. There's a parable actually spoken there. Where your heart is, there your treasure is as well. The time, the attention, the focus that we put on something reveals the priority of our heart, of our values, of what's important to us. For myself, I often think that my kids and my family are an important priority to me. But I was challenged by this especially when my kids were little, because I really highly valued that I'm a dad that likes to spend quality time with my kids. However, I noticed when I would play with them when they were little and they're playing with, dinosaurs or Lego or cars was a big one for one of my sons. Loved cars, loved playing, racing them, all these kind of things. He loved it. And, doing that every day, and they're 2, 3, 4 years old, for hours on time. And I'm clearly articulating that it was exhausting for me and it was boring. There was times it was just boring. And I would notice, I'm on my phone, or I got to go to the washroom, or actually I forgot I got to clean this thing up. Now, I don't get me wrong. I mean, we've got to take care of cleaning the house and all those things, but I clearly set that time apart for my kids. And so say I had 2 hours blocked there and I'm jumping and doing this and jumping and doing that. My behavior is telling me about how committed I am to that value of quality time with my kids. So because I had such a difficulty starting getting bored with Lego cars, those kind of things, I remember trying to do grounding techniques. So while my son was playing, one of my sons was playing with the cars and I was getting bored, I would bring my attention back by starting to draw the car with my eyes to bring me back so that I didn't go to the bathroom. So I didn't go try to create a work project, so that I didn't go, look on my phone. So I would actually draw my son's face so that I was redirected. So I was living up to that value of quality time. Now, please don't get me wrong. There's lots of time that I didn't do it that well. And then I did get bored and I went and did something else. But what I want us to really consider is your behavior says a lot about what you're actually employing as your values, your priorities, and what it says about you. So I really want you to think about those, kind of notice your behaviors in a day. If you think you're really quality time with your spouse, you almost think about how much time did I spend just listening to my partner? How much time did I actually just, invest in looking at them, at complimenting them? If these are things that you think you do, that you're a good quality partner, try to notice what these behaviors are, what level that you are employing those kind of things. And then, this is clearly something I'll think about as far as pathology. When I'm trying to determine if somebody has do you actually have an addiction? Or does somebody actually have, a problem with, say, for example, looking at physical images, say even graphic images of women or men, and you do this in your estimate too much. Well, or you don't think you have a problem with it, and yet actually, if you look at your behavior, I spend hours doing this kind of stuff. I'm going to go back to trust behavior. Do you have a true problem or difficulty with something? Look at your behavior. If you're spending hours, way more time that you want to, on the phone, looking at graphic images of the opposite sex, and this is not something you want to do, the behavior is telling you whether you have a problem. So I wanted you really just to think about that. Where is my attention? Where is my focus? Because you may think, that, I'm a very physically active person. But if you spend, 30 minutes reading about being physically active and 2 minutes doing it, the behavior is telling you something. So wanted to think about those kind of things and give us a bit of a challenge to think about, okay, now those are the behaviors that I do. And then ask yourself, what does this say about me? Why am I doing this behavior? What's the reward in it? What's keeping it going? So I often ask, what's maintaining behavior? If it's something you do a lot and you may want to break, because here at the end of it, what I want to leave you with the idea is that if you do these behaviors, they become a habit. Is it truly who you are? Are these behaviors really reflective of the person you want to be and that you actually are? So I wanted to just give you that encouragement. Take a look at your behaviors. Take a look where you spend most of your time, your money, where your eyes go, what you're hearing, what your priorities are through your day. Look at the behaviors and see what they say about you. I'm Dr. Kelly Clark. Thank you for listening again. You can reach me at drkellyclark.com. Thank you for listening today.